Hello everybody, welcome to the main channel where I'm doing a trade reaction because this is easily the biggest trade that has ever gone down while I had my second channel. Normally I save my initial trade reactions for that channel. However, I felt a trade of this magnitude was worthy of actually having a discussion here. So if you're not aware, as the title says, James Harden has been traded to the Philadelphia 76ers, and this is a rather large move. This also means that Ben Simmons is heading to the Nets along with 2 first-round picks and Seth Curry. No Matisse Thybulle. That was a big point of contention right before the trade actually went down because there was a report that Darrow was going to be unwilling to include Matisse Thybulle in that trade. Ended up being true, and it ended up being not a big deal because Sean Marks and the Nets were cool with that, but it seemed like that was a hill that Darrow was going to die on, and I felt that was going to be stupid, but doesn't matter because it didn't happen. Matisse Thybulle is still on the Sixers, and the Sixers moved Seth Curry. I actually am not sure if Patty Mills was included in the deal. Let me check that real quick. Yeah, it doesn't appear as though Patty Mills is involved in this move. So losing Seth Curry, it's not nothing. And Andre Drummond is also on the move, and the Nets are getting back, the Sixers are getting back Paul Millsap, but that's not really too consequential one way or the other. But James Harden is a Sixer, and let's talk about that side of it first, because first of all, I mean, James Harden being traded this season would not have been on my bingo card for this year. Definitely a big surprise, although as the season progressed, it definitely felt less and less unrealistic. The way that he'd been playing, there were obviously physical things there, but it did kind of feel like he was kind of checked out with Brooklyn, especially as the season continued to go, because he did start to get better and then he went back to being not great as you would like him to be. So not entirely surprised that ended up happening with that context, but again, if you told me beginning of the season that happened, I would have been like, what the hell are you talking about? Again, we're going to talk about the Sixers side first, but I do want to also say the fact that Daryl Morey got James Harden out of Ben Simmons is immaculate. But let's actually talk about his fit with Embiid. I mean, it's pretty damn great. The only concern that there might be is that maybe James Harden takes a couple of possessions away from Embiid, and the fact that Joel is not, even though he's a big man, he's not not the biggest pick and roll guy in the world. Granted, he hasn't necessarily had the best options to be a pick and roll guy, so that can be changed, as well as the fact that Embiid's game has expanded in a plethora of directions, both on and off ball. So I think he's more adept to a guard like James Harden than he would have been a couple of years ago. And I just think that's, I think that fits good. The playmaking James Harden provides, the shooting, the shot creation works really, really well. The fact that they lose Seth Curry is going to matter. There's also a high probability that Tobias Harris is going to be on the move. So I don't know what their starting lineup's actually going to look like, but you have that duo, and that's all you really need. And it's not all you need, but they also held on to Tyrese Maxey. That's the one caveat by comparison to when this trade was speculated on when he was in Houston. I, at the time, was like, hey, trade Tyrese Maxey for James Harden. I realized Tyrese is going to be good. It's worth it. And I think that take was correct at the time. But in the current context, with James Harden being much worse, being on a shorter contract, not so much the case anymore, on top of the fact that Tyrese Maxey is seeming to arrive earlier than even expected. So the fact that they kept Tyrese Maxey, Matisse Thybulle is fine. I pretty much arrived to the conclusion that Matisse Thybulle is overrated as hell as soon as I saw the discourse around that, because a lot of Sixers fans were like, oh yeah, we'll just wait until the offseason over Matisse Thybulle. And I'm like, look, he's a really good defender, but that's not the hill you die on. Either way, really love that fit. I think it's fantastic. I made a video on this channel because, again, we're on the main channel, even though I normally would put this on my second channel. And go subscribe to my second channel if you haven't already, because I'm going to be reacting to other trades that happened today. There's a 4-team trade, and there's still an hour and a half till the deadline's actually over, so there's still stuff to be talked about. But where am I going with this? I made a video saying don't waste this year of Embiid's prime. Don't waste it by not trading Ben Simmons unless you can get James Harden in the offseason. If that's a real thing you can do, then yeah, hold out for that. But best of both worlds here, you didn't waste this season of Embiid, and you got James Harden at the same time. That's a home run and then some for the Philadelphia 76ers, a home run and then some for Daryl Morey. Daryl Morey follows me on Twitter. I might DM him after this and be like, hey, good job. So yeah, just a home run move for the Sixers, and just phenomenal. Very good stuff there. And then now let's talk about Brooklyn's side of this. I think this was the best case scenario for you having to trade James Harden at the deadline. If you were going to have to do it, this was about the best case scenario coming out of that, because I think Ben Simmons is a fantastic fit in Brooklyn. I also think this is a best case scenario for Ben Simmons. So win-win-win there. I mean, it's not really a win for Brooklyn because by default you got a worse player, and I think you downgraded overall, even though Seth Curry coming back is a bigger deal than I think people will give it credit for. At the end of the day, they did get a little bit worse with that move, especially in regards to when players are out. But it does mean that you do have some players that fit a lot better. Seth Curry being able to be that floor spacer, especially when Joe Harris comes back. I forgot about Joe Harris, but that floor spacing is going to be great that he's going to provide. And then, of course, Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is a Swiss Army knife. He is a player that really is good at filling certain voids in teams, especially versatility-wise. That's like Ben Simmons' thing, outside of course, scoring the ball. But defense in a variety of facets, and then his playmaking ability, that is going to be really impactful on this team. And I think I would go as far as to say, the Nets aren't going to be that much worse from this move with how James Harden was playing this year and how I think he was going to continue to play with the Nets situation. In terms of fit, Ben Simmons actually improves with the Nets from where he was with the Sixers. Meanwhile, I think James Harden gets worse in the Nets circumstances and he gets better in the Sixers circumstances. So I think in the case of both of the major players being moved here, they're getting better circumstances for them in their careers. And Ben Simmons, I also think he should play either power forward or center. You might want to do LaMarcus Aldridge at center or whatever, but like the lineups you can run with Ben Simmons as the small ball center, because he is 6'10", but it would be like Kyrie, Seth, Joe Harris, Kevin Durant, Ben Simmons. That's 4 elite shooters and Ben Simmons. Doesn't get better spacing than that. And that would allow Ben to actually be more of a threat going to the rim. I think I've always said like he could do a even better than Draymond Green type of role offensively, where he's a serious threat as a role man. The Steph and Draymond pick and roll has been one of the best plays in basketball for the last 6 years. And doing that same thing with Ben Simmons, he can be even more of a threat rolling to the basket. It's just a matter of if his mentality will actually allow him to do that. But the spacing being there will give him the best possible chance of doing that. So I really like Ben's fit in Brooklyn. It's a weird thing because, yeah, the Nets got worse. But the fit is so good that I'm excited about this move for them. Not like if I was a fan of the Nets, I wouldn't be, because it's a worse team. But as a fan of basketball, I really feel like I'm going to enjoy the Brooklyn Nets just watching them a whole lot more than I did before. And I'm happy for Ben Simmons. I've been on Ben Simmons' side of this whole thing for the most part. I made a whole deep dive about how I don't think it's right to speculate on his mental health situation, bullshit or not. I don't really think it's our place to say. And I felt for Ben Simmons in his situation. On the James Harden side of things, I'm honestly not upset with him like some people are. James, there was a report before this that he didn't want to come out with a trade request formally because he was afraid of the backlash of wanting out 2 seasons in a row for 2 different teams. But I honestly don't blame him. I don't think the circumstances in Brooklyn were the best for him. And it's funny in hindsight now when all the people pushed back from him, and even I backed down because I felt it was not because of the criticism. I just genuinely felt that I was wrong. But the like one ball thing, I think that was a huge factor with James Harden. And the fact that now in Philadelphia, he's going to have the ball in his hands constantly. The only time he's not is when Embiid is going to be posting up. I think it's just a way better circumstance for him. Way better circumstance for Ben Simmons. I think the Nets got a little bit worse, but not as bad as you would expect losing the talent of James Harden. And the Sixers got significantly better. They are bona fide contenders now. I think they were already bordering on it, but I was just ultimately going to be like, Embiid alone isn't enough. And then, but with James Harden, obviously that's not the case now. And the Nets, I think, are still contenders. And when everybody's healthy and Kyrie capable of playing those games at home, because they're either going to take the fine, or I believe there's some rumor about New York changing their rules in terms of vaccination mandates. I think Brooklyn will be cool when everybody's back and healthy. Hopefully they can keep their head above water while everybody's out, because that's a problem. We're also going to see some solo act Ben Simmons, because Kevin Durant's out for another like 6 weeks. You'll get Kyrie on the away games, but you're not going to get him on the home games. So we're going to see some solo Ben Simmons in Brooklyn. That's going to be interesting. And I might make a video on Ben Simmons sometime soon, because I really want to talk about more in depth his situation with Brooklyn. But yeah, I'm really happy with this trade. I'm really happy it went through, especially from a personal standpoint. It gets views, but I just like when big players are on the move, because that's what makes the NBA fun to me, amongst many other things. But yeah, that is it. Again, go check out my second channel if you're subscribed to this one and you haven't. I do reactions to trades. I've been doing that for the other trades thus far. The CJ trade, the Norman Powell trade, the awful Tyrese Halliburton trade, all that stuff over on my second channel, and also post-game recaps and hot takes videos if you've missed those. So if you're not subscribed to that second channel, do that. If you're not subscribed to this channel, do that. But yeah, that is it. Goodbye.